This podcast may contain adult themes.
This podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
The views and opinions in this podcast are expressly our own.
When I get to the workplace, I like to fuck shit up.
Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
Hey, are you tired of toxic workplaces and the negativity that comes with them?
We hear you, and we're here to shake things up. Welcome to Let's Break Up Toxic Workplace Stories, the podcast that's all about breaking up with workplace toxicity.
I'm Nicola, and I'm here with my co-host Gina. Together, we're going to explore real-life experiences of workplace toxicity and offer a sense of encouragement and unity.
That's right. We're tackling the tough topic of negativity in the workplace.
So join us each week as we explore the various forms of toxicity in the workplace. We'll be interviewing guests to share their experiences and offer practical solutions for dealing with workplace toxicity.
Let's Break Up is quickly becoming the go-to source for anyone looking to share and then ditch the drama and help you break up with those toxic workplaces. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell all your friends.
In this week's episode, Deb, it is so great having you join us today.
Thank you.
How has your Friday been?
So it's been good. It's only 12:30 so far, so it's only been the morning, but it's been good. I've done a whole day of podcast so far. So this is my fourth podcast today.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
So what have the topics been that was it all EOS related or?
No. Well, yes, actually, mostly they were today. So I had an EOS client talking about EOS, and I was talking with another EOS implementer who's got a podcast called Elevate. And then there was just one about personal growth and development. And now this is going to be about EOS as well. So,
well, I think someone's going to be curious because we're coming from a different angle, right?
I know. Yes.
A bit of a.
So Deb, can you introduce yourself and give us a little background of what it is that you do, kind of give us a general idea of what EOS is? Because not everyone in America knows what it is. I didn't know what it was until I started working where Nicola and I met.
Yep.
Yeah. So take it away.
Sure. So me personally, I am an EOS implementer, but I'm also a business owner as well. So I've been running businesses pretty much my entire life. I had my first business when I was 13 years old at school. And then I worked for people running their businesses for a number of years, and then eventually went out on my own. I've had a couple of really successful businesses, a couple of pretty bad train wrecks. And I actually came across EOS because they launched into our event center. They used our event center to launch into New Zealand. And that's how I came across the methodology, and I read the books and I loved it. And so I signed up immediately. And that was 3.5 years ago.
So and now you're only an EOS implementer. Do you still have your own business?
I do still have my own business.
Okay.
It's not a big business like I used to have. We're sort of doing some stuff at the moment. We're looking to build some retreats in Hawke's Bay and Bali. So it's starting to grow again. So we had a couple of COVID basically stuffed up the event center.
Yes,
as you can imagine, it's not yet. So there was a lot of heartache and a lot of money that went down the drain in terms of closing that place up. So we've been rebuilding slowly. So we mostly do a EOS, but we have a couple of other things that we're working on as well. So some community stuff that we do. We've got the retreats that we're building, and we've got a small event space that we rent out as well.
Cool.
Yeah. And if you don't know what EOS is, I mean, basically the way it is meant to be used is it is a tool, a framework that is designed to get entrepreneurial businesses 100% on the same page in terms of their vision, where they're headed, who they exist for, why they exist, what they're doing, traction in terms of actually having discipline and accountability to execute on that vision, and healthy in terms it's supposed to actually create a much healthier leadership team and wider team that works together for the greater good.
Okay, so
which in theory sounds fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. And to be fair, I've done this with close to 26 different companies now, and they get great results from it, and they certainly do achieve that. So, done right, it certainly does do that.
And I think the framework is there for people to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Nicola and I were at a company that I think it was almost weaponized.
Yes.
Which
In
is
a
what
way.
I'm thinking as well. Now, not that everybody on the podcast will be able to see this, but I have shared with everybody in the chat our previous company's VTO,
Right.
along with the core values. And I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to kind of talk about how we think the process was weaponized and kind of some of the ways that potentially, because we don't want to make it all awful and shitty, because we know realistically, in theory, it should be a fantastic system. It should be a really well-working, well-oiled machine system. And I would be curious to dig into some of those values, talk about that, and then also potentially talk about what some solutions could have been to not have this weaponized.
Sure. And I think that's a really, really good conversation to have, because I say, in my experience, it is a great framework. I've been coaching for many, many years. So I think there's nothing new in here. There was absolutely nothing about EOS where you kind of went, oh my God, this is world changing. It's completely different. It's based on all really good, solid business principles, good, solid business research. It really is amazing if used correctly, but it has to be implemented correctly. And I guess that's probably where we're going to find there might have been some challenges.
I have a question. The people who it works for, have they all had like previous experience in just having jobs in general?
Sorry, what do you mean by that exactly?
Like they've got business experience. They've come from business.
Like they've had like a corporate job or a 9-to-5 job previously for maybe a couple of years. They've not
necessarily, because it is the entrepreneurial operating system. So many entrepreneurs never ever work in a corporate. I'm quite different. I spent a number of years working in corporate. You guys have worked in corporate. A lot of people haven't done that. They've gone straight into entrepreneurialism. So, but it is designed for businesses that are established, that have been going for some time, and who have got a good business. So, if you want to actually start using it, you need to have a good business. It's about taking your business to the next level.
Okay.
So I think
that's interesting as well.
Yeah, because I think part of the reason it felt very like non-tangible, the way that, at least to me, I don't know, Nicola, if it felt like that to you, but it felt like it was just this idea floating around in the company, and we had to tick the boxes to make the higher up people happy. Yeah. I personally saw no bonus from it. Like, I didn't find it to be useful for me or my team. And I would get feedback from the higher ups, because we the company ultimately purchased the EOS operating system, like for you to do your meetings on. Right. And I was told I wasn't spending enough time in those meetings. And I'm like, well, if we're dealing with our problems outside of these meetings and we're getting our work done, why does it matter that we're not spending an hour in a team meeting? Like, that's not how I work. So it was being used in a way almost to check up on us. Yeah. And
see, I fundamentally disagree with that, because I actually think, why would you spend time in meetings where you don't need to spend time in meetings?
So it was meetings over meetings over meetings, back to back to back, all on the EOS system, and it was just like, we never had time to do our real work, because everything was an all hands on deck meeting that couldn't be missed, no matter what. Like, even if you're dying, you can't miss this meeting.
So again, sounds like it might have been misconstrued. We certainly say that when we run level 10 meetings, there are only two reasons why you should miss it. One is that you are dying, or the other one is you're on leave. Because we completely believe in having leave, right? Annual leave is a great thing to have, as is sick leave, et cetera, et cetera. But in reality, if it's run properly, you should never be in, no one person should ever be in more than 2 meetings a week. And at absolute maximum, they run for 90 minutes.
Where does it say that?
Hold on, what page is this on?
Yeah, what page is that on? Because I don't think our company got the memo.
They probably didn't, because honestly, that it's designed to get you out of meetings. It's designed to take away all of those boring, useless, completely waste of time meetings, to get you down to 2 meetings. So unless you wore multiple hats in the business, the maximum number of meetings you should ever attend is 2 in a week, and they should be a maximum 90 minutes.
Your level 10 meeting of your peers, and then you've got the level 10 meeting for your underlings, and then essentially they are all doing their own thing anyways.
That's right. Yeah.
Right, but that wasn't what it was. I mean, I had a weekly meeting with the integrator.
Yeah.
which was just a way to micromanage me.
So that was a one-on-one meeting?
Yeah.
Yep.
Every week for an hour, we had a one-on-one with the integrator, and it was around micromanagement.
So that's not EOS. I can tell you that for an absolute fact.
So this is why I'm telling you, I think they were using it in a manipulative, weaponizing way.
Yeah.
And I will be totally honest with you. I left and I thought EOS was a piece of shit. I thought it was like an MLM scheme.
Yeah.
Because that's the way that the company used it.
Yeah. Whereas I was fully subscribed because I love me an operating system. I'm like, yes.
Right, but I didn't find that it was an operating system that was organized because, for instance, we met with our EOS. What are they, like the one person?
Implementer?
Okay. I don't know what
Yeah.
we called him there, but I forget his name, but it was very clear he did not know what the company did. So I was already like, what is going on here? Like, he probably should have like at least visited our website before this all-day meeting.
Yep.
He forgot the previous quarter's rocks. He forgot like the core values, which I think we need to talk about.
Yeah, those
shortly.
are fun.
And it just seemed like he really didn't grasp what was going on. And so in any event, we sat through the meeting, we all came up with our rocks, with due dates and all of that, as you do, according to the EOS system.
Yeah.
Several weeks later, I was told my rock due date was changed, pushed up. And I was like, but we all agreed that it was going to happen. Like this was the pattern we were going to establish. These were the dates, whatever. Oh, I don't think that's really written in stone, the integrator said.
Okay. So I'm going to be really honest. It sounds like a completely bastardized version of EOS because
that's my point.
Yeah, because EOS,
because they're taking what they want.
Rock is due quarterly. That's it. It has one date.
Right.
End of the quarter. That's it. Doesn't change. We don't add rocks. We don't remove rocks. We actually, it's designed to give you a laser sharp focus on what's important. And it's designed to take away micromanagement. It's designed to take away all those pointless meetings.
It did the opposite of that. It did the opposite because it was always meetings. You didn't spend enough time in your meeting with your team. The rocks are moving. We're adding more. It was like adding more things to our to-do list always, just constant changes that were not thought through. And I don't think that's how the EOS system is really supposed to be used.
It sounds almost
wrong?
like the complete opposite. I mean, in all honesty, it's designed to give you focus, take away meetings.
They managed to take an operating system that seems on paper and in theory, I have not had any other experience with it besides this one, which was horrible. I have never felt so micromanaged in my life. And totally corrupted. So what does that say about the people who are using the system?
I think the thing is that at the end of the day, a system is only as good as the people who are kind of working with it. And I think you can, there's good people and bad people, right? There's good leaders and bad leaders. I think you can take a system and you can do with whatever you want to with it. But in its true, purest form, it's designed to give you a little bit of a framework so that people can actually genuinely take accountability for their own areas and not have to be micromanaged. In fact, it's designed to kind of spread that down so that actually we should be saying to you, hey, Gina, that's your area. I don't care how you do it. We've got some measurables we want to achieve. That's cool. We've got some rocks we need to get done. We expect you to do those. But how you do it, you're accountable for that. You should be doing that. My role, if I was an integrator in that business, is to remove obstacles and barriers. Tell me how I can help you. If you're stuck, I need to help you. But I shouldn't be meeting with you every week, apart from a leadership team meeting. I should be having 2 meetings a week. That is one with my team, as you said, your peers, and one with the people who are in your accountability division function, whatever you want to call it. That's
The
it.
department. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you finish before 90 minutes, yeehaw. I mean, like that's good because we don't want to use that time to work on your rocks, for God's sake. I mean, don't spend time in a meeting just because you're supposed to be in a meeting. I tell my clients, 90 minutes is the maximum. That's just an amount. It sort of starts on time, ends on time, means it can finish early. Early is good, but it needs to not go overtime. So we never want to be stuck in a meeting that goes over time, because that is not good time management. But if you finish early, great. Let's use that time to do some productive stuff like working on the business. And that's the way it was designed to work. So it feels like somebody has taken the system, which is actually pretty simple and pretty easy to
It
do,
is.
and using it to not in the way it was intended. That's what it sounds like.
I think so in the EOS system, the CEO is the visionary and the COO is the integrator. So I think those two got together and weaponized it,
came up with
and
their own
bastardized it, and like came up with their own system that was based on the EOS system, but what worked for them.
Yeah.
Kind of cherry picked what was working. So cherry picked the core values, cherry picked the right seats, you know, kind of who should be in the right places.
And so again, I would say, you know, and I'm really passionate about this. This is a piece of work that you do together as a team. So that when you do your core values, you're doing it together as a team. It's not about one person deciding what they are and deciding that's what you do. You're meant to be developing. The whole VTO is developed as a team with input from everybody who has, you know, is on that leadership team to get the best possible result. And if it's facilitated properly, it is literally about being able to say, hey, we want some discipline and accountability, right? We want to have some regular meetings, want to have some things we're measuring, but we want you to get on and do it because it's your accountability. So and you know, the whole visionary integrator thing, sometimes it's CEO. It doesn't matter because we don't use those kind of titles, but it's not even about, it's about just being really clear that this is your area of accountability and we want you to take full accountability for it. We don't want to micromanage you because that doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that?
So the integrator had absolutely no business experience, period, ever. I don't even think she held a job anywhere prior to becoming the integrator. And she was about 26 or 27, and I'm going to be 44. And it was, I really don't care about age because I don't look my age. I probably don't act my age.
Me neither.
But in some of our first conversations, it was very clear to me that she didn't understand like normal retail business, like, and yet then she was micromanaging me. And in one of our one-on-ones, I remember her asking me, do you think that you can do this job? And I nearly lost my ever-loving shit. I was like, I could do your job better than you plus my job, but I didn't say that. But that's in reality, that is the truth. What do you think about that? Do you think that's a fair assessment, Nicola?
I would say it's a fair assessment. I think overall, other than you and I, there was very little experience within the organization. The visionary had very little outside experience. The integrator had very zero to
none almost
outside experience. I'd say your product person
zero.
Well, no, your product person had some experience, and your team had some experience. My team had some experience, but they were kind of whittled together. And it was confusing because we, you know, I think between Gina and I, we know how kind of rational, normal business should work, right? And it was frustrating seeing how this was then not the way things were created. So some of the rocks that were created they weren't kind of those high level, these are the business issues that we need to deal with. They were more kind of we're going to get into the weeds, and these are things that potentially subordinates could do kind of down the track in that accountability space. That could be their rocks. It doesn't need to be a visionary or a integrator rock, right? And it was really interesting, especially when it came down to strategy and planning strategy, because none of them across the board just understood or grasped the concept of what business strategy actually meant. So I'm curious to know, Deb, curious to know, what happens when how do you deal with that when you go into a business and you've got an entrepreneur who's great idea, fabulous idea, wants to make phone case stickers, but none of them have experience. How do you deal with that as an implementer coming in and saying, hey, like, none of you know anything about business? How do we kind of wrangle that around? How do we swing it back?
Can I take a guess at your answer before you answer it?
Yeah, sure.
So there's a part in the EOS book that says you have to have the right people in the right seat. So you hire people with those experience. But if you don't have
those, like, take that one out.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that's the exact point of EOS. So they had the right person, me, in the right seat, product development, overseas shipping, logistics, but they didn't like my methods, which were proven. And they didn't like how I wrote emails.
Yep. So to me,
So
that's like there's a cultural misfit, which is fine. That happens, right? And that's good. It's good that that happens because it makes both people make a choice. But I was actually going to say, you actually, when you're designing your accountability chart and talking about what the main functions are and including the visionary and the integrator, there's then an exercise that you go through to actually go, the people who we're going to put into those seats, we don't put people's names in there at all. We actually ask people who has the right skills to actually do this job, and we actually get them to put their hand up, and we go through the GWC. Do you get it? Fundamentally get what this role is about. Now, if you are an integrator, do you actually really get what an integrator role is? Because their role is to hold the business plan that we've all put together and make sure it works, keep the team working together, and remove obstacles and barriers and do some special projects. That's it. They're not designed to kind of get down in the weeds organizing things. That's what the next level is for. Then you have to ask, do they really want it? Because wanting it means you want to jump out of bed in the morning and actually go and do it. But most importantly, they have the capacity to do it. And capacity is not time capacity. Do they have the knowledge, the technical expertise, the experience, the qualifications to actually do that role? And if you don't have all three ticks on that for both the visionary, the integrator, and all of the levels, you've got to actually say, we've got an issue here. And maybe somebody can babysit a role for a while we find the right person. But we've got to have, and when I say right person, the right seat, the person who can do that job. Somebody who shares our core values is the right person. The right seat is, do they actually get it, want to have capacity to do it? And every organization I work with, we make them go through that. We have people swapping roles. You know, I've had a company that was 30 years in, and their sales and their operations person, when we went through this exercise, actually said, I really want to do the other role. I think I'm actually much better suited to sales rather than operations, and vice versa. And we went around the table and everybody got to actually have their say. Do you think this person genuinely gets it? Do they really want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? And every person on the team had the option to input into that. And I could say, you know what? Actually, let's say Nicola was the integrator. I could go, Nicola, I'm going to be really honest with you here right now. You know, we're a team. We're here for the greater good. I think you kind of get the role a little bit. I'm not sure you get it 100%. I hear that you want it, and that's fantastic. But from a capacity point of view, I'm going to be honest, I don't think you have the capacity to do it. And then I have to explain to you why I don't think you do. And I think that's because you haven't got the right experience. You haven't got the qualifications. I don't think you've had enough time to actually get your head around it. So I don't believe you actually GWC it. And we do that with the whole team and allow them to give that feedback. And then if we choose to put somebody in that role who doesn't have that, as a team, we've made that decision. And we might say it's only a babysitting role for 3 months till we find somebody better. But there's no automatic right. Just because you're the owner, you become the visionary, or just because you're the person's friend, you become the integrator. You've actually got a GW to that role. All of them have to.
So where's the checks and balances there? Would our implementer have at some point needed to do that with a team?
Yeah. So the whole leadership team does that in the initial stages of EOS. So they actually literally sit down with a big whiteboard and they go, right, what is
with the EOS implementer?
With the EOS implementer and the whole leadership team, we sit down, we draw up the ideal functional structure of the organization for the next 12 months. So not even right here, right now, but for the next 12 months, where we're headed,
right.
What do we need to, what are the main functions?
So then how did someone get the integrator role in our company that lacked experience, didn't understand
because
planning, retail planning, or retail marketing, or retail scheduling, and on any level? I had to tell her, consistently that marketing, there's a buying calendar and
I'll
there's a
tell you how
marketing
she-
calendar.
I'll tell you exactly how she got into that role. I will tell you, because I was in the implementer all dayer to get into this.
Right. Okay. Cool.
How
did this happen? And did anyone object? Because I would have been the first to object.
Okay, so from the minute we started EOS, I did not miss one meeting for the entire duration of my time there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in every single meeting, every single implementer meeting, all day sessions, the planning, all the things.
Yep.
And I clearly remember Integrator Day because both myself and your person put our hands up to be the integrator. Beep was on the leadership team with us up until you started, right? Where the change management was shit and she was just kicked off the leadership team and you were inserted. So we had both put up our hands and said, look, I think I would be a good fit for integrator. I know I get how business works. I can see the trajectory we're heading in. Let's go. But it came down to the visionary making the final decision on that. It wasn't a team decision. It wasn't a team discussion. And she, in the all-day meeting, selected the kind of customer service lead to step up and be the integrator because she gets along with everybody so well.
So there's a fundamental flaw, because I actually think that the integrator is the person who has the tough conversations. They're not actually meant to get along with everybody really well. They need to keep the glue together and keep people on the same team, but they've actually got to be really prepared to have tough conversations. So yeah, anyway, that's an interesting one.
So it wasn't a team discussion.
So was there the ability to comment on it, Nicola, during that?
Once the decision was made, no.
There was no
debating after the decision had been made. Did you
go through GWC though? Did everybody get a chance to go?
No, it wasn't around GWC. We GWC'd every other role except for the integrator role.
Right. So there's a fundamental flaw. We're not following process, if you like. The whole point is that actually, even to the visionary level, we get to decide as a leadership team who we think is the right visionary, because it's structure first, people second. And so I've had examples where in a company, a young person put their hand up to be a visionary. We've had to go around the table and kind of explain whether they GWC or not. And then we've made a call as a team as to who actually gets the role. Because we've done the discussion, we've had our say, and then we get to, as a team, decide who is the right person for the role. And we have to have the conversations until the team is really comfortable they've made the right decision.
So like that would mean that the person whose idea, the original idea, like I own a company, right?
Yep.
The idea is not original, but I founded it, we're like 11 years in, whatever.
Yeah.
If I'm not, just because I started the company doesn't mean I'm the best person to be the visionary.
At different stages in the company? No, definitely not. You think about EOS as a classic example. Gino Wickman, who wrote the EOS structure, is not the visionary for EOS. We're on to our third visionary. We now have Mark O'Donnell. Before that, we had Peyton, I think it was. So, the visionary role changes over time as well. And it doesn't have to be the person as the founder.
That was part of the problem, is that internally, the company culture was so toxic that they put the visionary and the integrator on such pedestals, and everyone wanted to please them and placate. And I didn't play that game. Like, I was just like, what? Leave me alone. Let me do my fucking work, kind of thing. That's how I work best, is to leave me alone and let me just power through all this stuff, and I will get you results, and I will get what needs to be done. But I was always being micromanaged by the integrator.
Yeah. So again, I'm not just going to say that's not EOS. That's not EOS.
It's not, right?
No, it's not. No. Their
Okay,
role is as a leader, any leader in an organization, and I'm really passionate about leadership, I'm a trained leadership coach as well, is to actually enable your team to step up. It's to enable them to do the stuff that they're really, really great at. We talk about unique ability. Like, what is the stuff that you're really good at, you love, you're great at? That's what we want you doing. And the role as for a leader is to make sure your people can do that. And you're there to remove obstacles and barriers, to train them, to hold their hand if needed.
If
But
needed, right.
if needed, but not to micromanage. No, but if you've got to micromanage someone, you've got a hiring mistake on either end of that equation.
Right.
So it's like, let's get to the real crux of the issue and then discuss all the possibilities and use all of that brain power that's here in a leadership team to come up with the right answer. But you only need to do that when you're stuck. Otherwise, actually, Gina's team, if you've got full accountability, you know what the outcomes are they require, you're supposed to just be allowed to get on with it. That's the whole point of the accountability thing, is actually, we fully trust you. That's why you're in this role. You should be getting on with it, but you need to come to us if you get stuck, and we're here to help you. So again, one of the roles of the integrator is to actually keep the visionary away from the day-to-day operations. The whole point of having a visionary box is the visionary, they are amazing people, right? They have ideas that can sometimes change the whole world. But as a visionary myself, I also have lots of shit ideas, right? So I will come up with 50 ideas in a week, and 49 of them are absolutely shit, and one might be okay. And some weeks all 50 are shit. So that's okay. We have to recognize that. And the whole point of having an integrator is that they should be what's the right word? They're kind of they're there to stop the visionary from getting involved in the day-to-day decision stuff and the data operation stuff, so that by the time any ideas come down to the leadership team, they've already been sanity checked. We've already made sure they actually make sense. We've made sure it's not just a whim that Debra's on this week.
I don't think sanity was big in this company. I don't think there were sanity checks, period. I think that's part of the major issue here.
Yeah, well, I can't do anything about that. What I'm saying is that's what the process is designed to do, right? It's designed to actually, because I work with a company where the visionary was this amazing lady, like super, super smart, super great at what she did, which was the big picture stuff. But she had lots and lots of ideas. They never had an integrator. And so she would have their entire leadership team working ridiculously long hours trying to implement all these ideas that she had. And then by the time they got around to almost finishing them, she'd moved on. She's on to something else, right? And that's what visionaries do. That's perfectly normal. And I think we have to accept that's what entrepreneurs do. So you put the integrator in to go, hey, so my integrator, we have a meeting. I tell her about my crazy ideas once a week, and she'll go, oh, Debra, let me sit on that for a week. And she sits on it for a week, and then she comes back next week. She says, Debra, how are we going with that idea you had last week? Oh no, I've moved on from that. Now I'm on to something else. So that's their role, is to actually kind of filter out the stuff that's just a whim, and also to sanity check it before it ever comes into the business. We've got a VTO. We know what we're focused on. We know what our 1-year targets are. We know on your goals. We know what our 90-day rocks are. Does this fit in with it or not? If it doesn't, we park it, and the integrator parks it and goes, we'll come back to that. The whole point of doing EOS is to have a laser sharp focus that goes, we're not going to keep switching and changing every week because somebody changes their mind. It's like we have 90-day things, so we actually focus on something for 90 days. If it doesn't work out, we can change at the end of 90 days, but we do not change focus in that 90 days. We'd stop doing something if it wasn't working immediately, of course, but it's like, that's what it's designed to do, is take all of that craziness away, all of that manic rushing around doing all this shit that isn't necessarily relevant, and focus on the things that are important. So I don't know. I can only speak from my experiences. Is it's not designed. You don't have to do what the visionary says. Just because they're a founder of a company, the whole point of EOS is to give them a role that goes, this is your role, but we decide as a team what is best. The leadership team is here for the greater good of the entire organization, and we make the major decisions together.
So in their defense, I think they attempted to do that very weakly. I don't think the integrator had the ability to weed out what was a good idea and what wasn't, because there was a lack of experience and maturity.
Sure.
And I think it was very difficult for her to tell the visionary no.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be honest. I think 27 years, I mean, I was a CEO at 27, so I got to be careful. But I think in general terms, 27 years old is, you don't have enough experience, and you don't have the mana, if you like, to actually stand up to people and kind of go, hey, no. And the integrator role is really important, because they have to stand up to the visionary. They should be challenging them on every single thing that they're saying.
You need to be able to go toe to toe. You
Absolutely.
need to say, hey, great idea, babe, but not going to float for us this year.
Or even better, you know what? Have you really thought about that? Because it sounds good right now, but what about this, and challenge the visionary to actually think about the things that they're doing. And that comes with a certain level of maturity. And I'm not sure most 27-year-olds would have that. Don't know about yours.
No, I think there's outliers, of course.
Yeah.
But I would say to you, even though you were CEO at 27, did that business succeed?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was an established business and we had 220 staff and we actually went from flatline to growth because I'm very much growth focused. So, yeah, but that's you. But that's an outlier.
Yeah,
that's an outlier, right? But like,
yeah, I'm very special.
I had a business around the same age and I that business, I had to shut it down because it just wasn't, I didn't have enough experience yet on how to run a successful business. It wasn't until I brought a business partner into the mix that actually happened. So I think you're right. I think 27, the majority of people, especially with no outside work experience, you just went from, I don't even know, did she go to college? I don't know, but
it doesn't matter. She has to GWC the role, and part of that role is managing that visionary, and it is managing the leadership team to help them, not to hinder them. So, you've got to actually ask the question, did she really GWC it? And it doesn't sound like she did. And on that basis,
remind our listeners what GWC means.
So get is to really get it. Do you actually, because getting it means, like, I have been a CEO, I understand the role of an integrator and what is required. So, I mean, I really get it. Want it is, do you genuinely want it? Because an integrator is about having tough conversations with the visionary, tough conversation with the leadership team, and really holding people accountable for what has been agreed at a leadership team level is our plan. So it's a really tough role. Like, there's a certain person that will get and want to be an integrator, and then capacity is the C part is capacity to do it. So not time capacity. We've all got 27 hours in a day. 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week.
I wish we had 27 hours in a day.
That's my brain not quite keeping up with my mouth. But so we've all got the same time capacity. But do you actually genuinely have, like I said, the technical knowledge, the experience, the expertise, the qualifications? There are certain parts of a role that you just need to have certain things that enable you to better do it. I can do accounting, right? I can. Don't want to. Don't really get it. But I don't really have the capacity. I can do it, but it would take me 10 times as long and I'd make 20 times as many mistakes. So do I GWC accounting role? No, I don't. And so on that basis, you'd never put me in that role, not unless you wanted your company to fail. So every role should be looked at and said, does this person actually GWC that role? And if they don't, we can sometimes in a rare occasion agree they can babysit it for a while and maybe have some training and some, brought up to speed, but not in an important role like an integrator. I actually think your integrator has to GWC that role 100%, because it's not a role you can grow into. It's not a role that it's a tough role, and you want somebody who completely 100% GWCs it.
That makes sense.
What do you have to say? Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And I think that kind of moves into our next kind of space, because I was just looking through reading the book.
Yeah.
I'll link the book so people can also read the book, because personally I think it's a great system because, as I said earlier, love me an operating system. It just makes things easier. And secretly I have, don't tell anyone, but I've secretly bastardized the level 10 meetings for health and safety meetings.
Okay.
It works. It just works. Like, tell me your issues and then let's have accountability, and you've got a week to sort it out. Yep. I love it. It works perfectly. Sure, we've tweaked a couple of things, but it kind of keeps the core basis, right?
You're making my heart pound, but it's okay. I'll let you do that. I mean, as I said, nothing in EOS is new. It's best you do it pure, but at the end of the day, sometimes we make tweaks.
Yeah. Because obviously
your whole operating system at the government is not EOS, so she's just picking part of it.
Sure.
Please, I would love to see the whole government use EOS, but now brown cow.
Right. So you're using what you can where you can, essentially.
Absolutely.
What I can do with what I got.
I'm all for that. Absolutely all for that. Yeah. Okay.
But I I think that does kind of lead into kind of the next thing around the core values that we had, the Dr. Seussisms, if you will.
Yep.
I
I've got them
can't.
here.
Oh, Gina, you're so silly. And I remember the day we created these, they were created as a team.
Right.
And the process that we used was we selected a couple of our core employees that were just standout
Star performers. Yep.
Yeah, our top performers.
Mhm.
One of which was let go because God knows why, because they didn't fit the mold that the integrator and the visionary wanted to portray, I guess, which is really disappointing because they were lauded as the top performer, right?
Yeah,
Like,
sad.
how bizarre. We based a ton of these core values based on someone that
just let go.
essentially got booted out of the business.
Yeah.
Was that you?
Okay. So far the process sounds good. You pick your top performers and you said,
We
what are
picked our
the
top
values?
performers,
They
we created
exhibit, the
these
behaviors. Yep.
Dr. Seussism. Now I'm going to go through the previous core values before we get into the EOS core values, right? Because I feel like they are a juxtaposition. The previous core values were focused on mental well-being and thoughtfulness. And for the employee, this means free health insurance for full-time and part-time employees, unlimited paid time off, flexible schedules, safe space to talk about struggles, and understanding of employees to take personal days, safe working space. We will not tolerate any discrimination that creates a hostile or unpleasant environment for employees. For the employee, this means dedicated to creating unique products, not copying current trends, but setting trends, free tools and items to all employees, and opportunities to learn and grow outside of their current roles. Be kind to yourself, others, and to the environment. For employees, this means allowing employees to set their own schedules, understanding the need to be kind to themselves and take time off, cultivating a diverse workspace where all people feel welcome, dedicated, designing environmentally responsible packaging, working with FSC certified manufacturers, and eliminating the use of plastic in shipping. And finally, the one that hits me hardest. Happy birthday to you. For the employee, this means employees should be celebrated, good work is rewarded, and each employee is valued for their own unique set of skills. Working on ways to do this and create a better environment. Bonuses each year for all employees, part-time and hourly. So those were kind of the 4 core values before we started EOS.
Yeah.
Okay.
My first question is, did people actually live and breathe those? Was it genuinely?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Good to know.
These were...
Well, not the environmental stuff.
Well, I think they were led to believe that that was true.
Okay. Well, it wasn't.
It wasn't true, but I think they were led to believe that it was, because I don't think they had the experience around sustainability and environmental responsibility to actually talk to that appropriately. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Yep.
Yeah. So let's give them that one. Okay. So
Okay.
anyway, so those were the 4 core values for the longest time before the EOS process came about. Everybody could list these off the top of their head. Everybody lived and breathed these. These were like the ones that we would display out to customers. These were the ones that were internal, external, all of the places. So you could always find them. And I, having been there for a long time, I believe that it was a really good culture that we had created with those core values.
Those core values are way nicer and much more gentler than what we ended up with.
Yeah, so let's go in.
So talk me through the process that you went through to get to these new 6 core values that I see here on the video.
So we went through the standard process of, identifying your top performers, what embodies that environment. I think we spent a good 2.5 hours discussing what these would be. I think we had 2 half days from memory.
Okay.
I feel like we had 2 full days, like consecutively, quite like, And we were allowed to go and think about them, kind of come back with feedback. And all of the leadership team were to kind of help and define what these meant.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hop into these core Dr. Seussisms. We get things done. I think we should get things done.
Yeah, absolutely. But
I think that's just how business is supposed to work. Like, you get shit done.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be a core value.
So there's a couple of things I'll talk about core values in a second that we usually call out on. But okay, yeah, we get things done. Surprisingly, some businesses are not focused on that. So yep, okay. But did that come from your top performers? Is that one of the behaviors you saw in them?
One of the behaviors was that the top performers always got stuff done.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything always got done.
Yep.
Okay. Business before yourself.
Right.
Okay. So always put the company first. I agree. I put in, from memory, I think I put in optimistic mindset because I'm always optimistic about everything. And I also very much put in being customer obsessed. So be obsessed with your customers so that you can really drive what that marketing program would look like, right?
Yep.
But always company first and no ego or drama. So no blame, etc., kind of all the things around being accountable for your own behavior, right?
Yep.
Lean with it. So expect growth and change. Be figure-outable and kind of be nimble with movement. Don't hate that one. Always on board with being flexible and adaptive. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Ask any questions. Bring fresh ideas. And speak now or forever hold your peace.
Oh, interesting. My favorite.
My personal favorite too. And show genuine kindness. Start from the heart out, put yourself in other people's shoes and show grace. Allow room for improvement. Okay, so give us your profesh opinion on where you think these potentially have landed.
I have no idea, but my first thing would be 6. Bloody hell! Do you actually remember any of those? Because I wouldn't.
The only one I remembered was the business before yourself
because it was catchy.
Yeah. Okay.
Catchy.
Before you. Yeah. I mean, my professional thing is that 6 just seems like it's way too many. How you can possibly remember all those, I don't know.
Well, apparently, I went against all 6 all the time.
Oh, did you? That's nice.
Yeah, but that's because you're a dick.
All I can say is I don't know about the value. The values should come from your top performers without a doubt. You should define, how do you create more of the people you actually want? And so as long as they fit those people, that's absolutely cool. Where do I think they ended up? I have no idea. I mean, that some of them I kind of go, you talked about, Gina, surely that's just what happens. We talk about permission to play kind of values, which means that actually some things, they're just hygiene factors, right? So we never use words like integrity or honesty because actually you just kind of expect that. But to be fair, I think some companies aren't honest about their core values. I think that, if you went to work on Wall Street, for example, their core values should be every man for himself, dog eat dog, results before health. That would be the actual core values that they
die before you get off that field.
But I think that those core values also were what these core values are hidden. It's like hidden in there because it's like company before you, which is fine, but at the same time, how can you do that when you're a mental health company and you want to value your employees? Like it's a murky area. And then
it depends on how it's lived out. So for me, I mean, I would say, it's for the greater good. We always work for the greater good. So we do talk, because we actually have one of our core values at EOS is actually about always thinking about the greater good of the business as opposed to the individual kind of desire that you want from it. And I'm perfectly cool with that, provided it's used in a positive way, which does not mean that you completely ignore your staff and think that their stuff doesn't matter, because that's not true at all.
I would say for this one, for my team, we would work pretty much 24/7.
Right.
I was working because, being based in New Zealand, the time zone is shit show. So I would work from like 3 a.m. till 11 p.m. every day.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. That doesn't
she was all totally different human being. She was like cranky, Like, lack of sleep will do that to a hold on. It's a Botox lift.
I'm dead. I still love you and your
No, my
body.
top lip is Botox, Deborah. So sometimes like I have a hard time pronouncing words.
Okay.
And sometimes I dribble when I drink because I can't really like pucker.
Love it. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. Values, I mean, no company should ever expect a person to work excessive hours. Like the whole, I'm actually, my integrator is employed on a 4-day work week. I actually believe, and she gets paid for 5 days and she does 4 days. And I think that actually that is the way that the less hours that you do, you genuinely are more productive within reason, So I don't think any values should be used to force people to work long hours. That's actually bad business behavior. But tell me how they landed, because they to look at them on the surface, I kind of go, yeah, they're not awful, but it's about how they're implemented that's actually the important thing. So there's definitely too many of them. If they came from the people that you valued, then it makes sense. But how would you expect to live by them?
What do you think about the two that are contradictory, like be bold and brave? And what was the one that contradicts that? I don't even remember them because there's too many of them.
But be bold and brave.
But speak now or forever hold your peace. So what if you're in a project and you realize like, oh shit, I need help, but speak now or forever hold your peace. So, but also be bold and brave. So what is it? What should we do? Like, what is it?
I know.
And then when we were bold and brave, like when Nicola and I would challenge people, we'd get kind of like reprimanded, like a slap on the hand.
So it sounds to me like they're not values that were actually being upheld. I mean, at the end of the day, you should have values that you absolutely do live and breathe by. And I don't know, I can't comment because I wasn't there, but it just feels like.
No, I know. But
yeah, they're kind of, that the whole point is it's not to come up with some flashy looking values that we can kind of go, yay, we've got a tick box, we've done it. I hate that. That's absolutely not the approach to values at all. It's designed to build up a set of core values that you genuinely live and breathe by, that everybody understands. And so
can you give us an example of a company that is successfully implemented it and what their core values are, just so we can get the contrast of like good core values?
Well, there isn't such a thing as good core values or bad core values. It really comes down to the individual business. So I think it's really important that we say that, because it is. But I mean, I've got. But like
these core values seem very like loosey goosey. Like they don't really mean too much when you look at them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes down to how they are shared, how the people talk about them, how they're used. They have to be really, really clear. So, I mean, if I'm looking at a company that I've got over here in New Zealand who actually has 6 core values. And I've always said to them, 6 is so many. Do we have to have 6? But they wanted to have 6. And at the end of the day, it's not our role as an implementer to force people to do anything. We can give you all the reasons why something should be done, but the company has to own it. And they've got things. They've got humbly confident. And when they talk, I can't remember the actual core value speech, but they talk about the fact that, we want people who know their stuff, but we don't want arrogance in the company. Exceeding expectations. So that is very much around, doing more than what you say you're going to do, always exceeding expectations. Positively determined, socially authentic, ethically honest, and trailblazers. Now, I know that this company uses those day in, day out. And they don't reprimand anybody if if you say you're going to be socially authentic and somebody believes that we're not being social authentic, they are free to challenge each other on that. That is what a healthy environment is. We got to challenge what is going on in our environment. So if you're told to be bold and brave, or told to be a trailblazer, and then somebody gets reprimanded for pushing the boundaries, you're not living by the core values. As a team, it's perfectly okay to have those conversations about, well, that's not what we say we are. So why are we not doing, why not living by them?
You know what? I just realized one, Gina. So, Deb, I don't know if you listened to some of our other episodes.
Yes.
Or
only a little bit, because I didn't want to be too scared coming into this.
We're not scary, please.
No, we're not. We're not at
all. Unless we are. Do we need to have a chat? But what I just realized is core value number 3, own your shit. The bottom one, no grudges. Gina, was I not fired over a 3-year-long grudge?
Yes, more or less. Yes.
Yeah. So then I'm going to say it's not EOS that's the problem. It's the company not kind of living and breathing it.
Is.
Yeah. Because
No, I think it was a pack of fucking imbeciles grasping at an operating system that is simple enough for imbeciles to actually grasp it, but not grasping it fully to implement it properly. Because it's very simple. Like you said, you're not reinventing the wheel. It's very simple.
It is very simple.
Right.
Yeah.
So they, in theory, thought they could implement it properly, but because there was really not a set of checks and balances in place, proper ones, it became bastardized. I think it was like a lot of just inexperience, like layered on top of like not being the sharpest tool in the shed. And I don't think, or not knowing what's best for you, even when other people are telling you what's best for you. And I think that that's sort of how it became bastardized, because it was absolutely weaponized. Like when you tell an employee the reason why you're getting fired, even though I've learned so much from you, the reason why you're getting fired is because you went against all the core values, but they wouldn't explain details. That's weaponization.
Yeah, no. So again, I'm going to be, if you're using EOS properly, when you're having these conversations about people, because we have the people analyzer, right? Where you can go, here are our 5 core values, and we give you a plus, a minus, plus, minus, plus, a minus, or a plus, minus. You actually, I always say, if you give a plus, that's great. And maybe give an example. If you go a plus, minus, you've got to tell them 3 examples of where they're not actually doing that. There's got to be 3 data points that actually say. So I'll give you one of my really good companies that does have 5 great values. Right? So they've got family first, constantly making sure our family is 100% healthy and happy. Go hard or go home. We do whatever it takes. Healthy and happy, body, mind, soul, and world. Straight up, we tell it like it is, and feel the fantasy. We push the boundaries, right? Now, if I was having a conversation around people than that, it doesn't, go hard or go home does not mean you work ridiculous hours. We do whatever it takes, but we also know we've got family first, so we're going to balance that. But if I was to say to you, look, I don't believe you are going hard or going home, I don't think you do whatever it takes, I've got to give you 3 examples that where you've not done that, because otherwise we're not using the tool properly. The tool is designed as a leader to help you to raise the bar. And everybody will get plus minuses at times, right? We're all human beings. We all have shit going on. And there are times when I will not be healthy and happy because I am, there's stuff going on and I'm just not doing the right things for my body, mind, and soul. And so my as a leader, the role is to say, hey, Deb, we've got to have a bit of chat here, right? One of our core values here at this XYZ company is healthy and happy. And I've just noticed in the last couple of weeks, you haven't really been healthy and happy most of the time. I'm giving you a plus minus or maybe even a minus. And here's why I think that is. Like, I haven't seen you go to the gym. I haven't seen you smiling around here. And in fact, you're actually getting quite negative in our meetings. And I just don't believe you're putting the time and effort in to look after yourself. What's going on for you? And how do I help you with that? That's what it's designed to do. It's not designed to go, you're not, point the finger, you're not the right person. It's actually, as a leader, what can I do to help you with that? What's going on? And I go to
that was never anything that I ever heard come out of any of the leaders' mouths.
I'm curious, like when you got fired, because they said that you went against all the core values, right?
Yes.
Did they give you, other than your emails, did they give you any examples?
No. So how in the EOS, like you get your 60-day review and then they'll bring up, I guess, whatever plus minus you need to work on. So mine was like, watch the way I type my emails, basically, because I was coming across
unkind.
Okay. Again, can't comment on the individual things, but the whole point of the EOS process, first of all, we don't have formal performance reviews, only once a year. An annual review is done once a year, and it is based on the core values. It's based on what's working, what's not working. So it's 360-degree feedback. How can I help you? And you develop a plan to actually do that. Then we have these things called quarterly conversations, and they're designed to be quarterly conversations. The title kind of gives it away, right? It isn't a formal performance review. It is a conversation that goes, hey, here at XYZ company, our 5 core values are blah, 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 blah. Just a bit of a heads up. I really think you're great at this, great at that. Got a bit of an issue around here. As soon as I've got an issue, here's my 3 examples of where you're not actually meeting that. And then the next question is, what's going on? How do I help you? And also, if people have got an issue with you, it doesn't wait to a quarterly conversation. An issue is dealt with as soon as it happens in private, away from our meetings. You should be going, hey, Gina, I wouldn't even do it in front of people. I would approach you after the meeting and go, Gina, can we have a quick word? Hey, look, I just noticed in that meeting, one of the things that you did was XYZ. I don't believe that meets our core values. I think we need to work on that. What can I do to help you with that? So I think values are designed to actually help both the business and the people to go, do I actually fit in here? Maybe I don't. And if, maybe you want to go somewhere else, that's absolutely cool. But I want to be really, really clear. The EOS process it's designed once a year, you get a formal review. Quarterly, you have conversations. That's all they are, conversations. And it's about finding out what's working, what's not working. How do we help you? What can we do? And then if we've got a real issue with somebody, it's dealt with immediately and it's dealt with in private. That is the EOS way. Praise is given in public. Dealing with issues is done in private. And it's done with the basis of how do we help you get better? A leader's role is only to get the best from their people. That's it. Yeah. And EOS gives you all the tools to do that. It's not designed to help people sack people or fire people unless they're not actually performing. And let's face it, every business owner has a right to, hold people accountable. But it's not designed to be used. Well, it doesn't sound like it was used in the correct way. That's what I would say.
You know what? I found this conversation really interesting because I think it really, we assumed because it had been touted to us as being delivered as the full EOS system. But I think you're right. I think the issue here was that it was bastardized. There was a lack of experience. There was, a number of elements that weren't being done correctly.
Properly, yeah.
Or cherry-picked to suit the current climate or current whatever was needed at that point in time. And I think that's where some of those core kind of disconnects happen.
Well, so we have a whole module called LMA, right? And LMA stands for leadership plus management equals accountability, where we actually teach all of the managers what good leadership actually looks like. We teach them how to use the people analyzer to be a good leader. We teach them how to manage people, to hold them accountable. And so we actually teach all of these really, really cool tools that actually give them the ability to become better leaders, better managers. And, every single person in the business is a leader and a manager if they've got people. And I don't believe that they're two separate things. I think actually you have to both lead and you have to manage. Absolutely. And that helps to hold people accountable. So we actually help them understand this and we give them tools to become better at that.
I don't think that our people took that.
and so,
that course. I think they missed that memo, Deborah.
Yeah, obviously, because you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. So, we will give the tools to help people build a better business. But at the end of the day, like I said right at the beginning, you've got to have a good business already. This is designed to take your business to the next level. We are not strategic advisors. We're not going to tell you what your strategy should be. We're here to actually help you build the right company that's got a really strong vision, has the right people in the right seats. And if somebody shares the core values but isn't in the right seat, hopefully we can find another seat for them, right? But if they don't share the core values, they shouldn't probably be there. And that's okay, because they'll find somewhere else that both people are happier. And then we're there to help them, provide tools that don't restrict the business, but just give a little bit of a framework to guide you. That's what it's about. That's why I loved it. It's so fucking simple.
It is so simple. Like, how did it get to this level that
it was so
and I think
shape.
And I think for me it really was something like it was I wasn't the right fit for them. They needed someone with less experience who didn't have as much confidence as I did. And because I didn't know anything about the business and it was very did have like a cult following, I think it was easier for me to see through the bullshit, and I was not interested in adapting to their way of doing things because
and that is sad for a number of reasons. But I think, the thing that I would come back to is one of their core values was bold and brave. So if they really didn't want bold and brave people, they shouldn't have had that in there.
I have been saying that since the day I got fired. I was like, I thought you wanted bold and brave. Here I am, baby.
Yeah. But as I said, sometimes some companies, they don't want to face the truth, because it's better that we're really, really truthful about our core values. I used to have one when I was running the event center that was about embracing your inner child. And that was really important for me, because I'm the curious person. I want to make sure that we're always kind of coming from a good place. Children don't know right or wrong a lot of the time. And it was really, really important for me. And I had to live and breathe that. So, if people weren't doing that, then I had to bring it up with them and do it. But there's no point in pretending that wasn't part of who I was, because that's part of who I am. And so that was what I needed in my company. And so that's what I think about core values, that they've got to be genuine, they've got to be authentic, and you have to live and breathe by them, which means everybody lives and breathes by them, or go. And in a healthy team, the leadership team should not feel afraid to call it out at any level, because we are a team, and we're a team where, sure, there is ultimately a little bit of hierarchy. There has to be somebody ultimately the buck stops with somebody, and that's usually the integrator. To be honest, that's the person who gets the final say in everything, because they hold the business plan. But we should be in an environment where we're happy to have the conversations. You'll see on all my materials, I've always got an elephant in it. I have a fluffy elephant that it's about. We've got to have the elephant in the room discussion. We've got to make sure we're dealing with the sacred cows. We've got to make sure we're actually fighting for the greater good, which means sometimes we have to tell people things they don't necessarily want to hear, but it needs to be said, because that's what we need to do to make this business work.
And you hit the nail on the head. Like, for me, I think the visionary was not used to being told this is not possible.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely agree that we should sort of look and see what other possibilities.
Of course.
So as long as we've explored all possibilities, that's fine, but we have to be realistic. And that's, if you think about objectives, goals, 90-day rocks, they've got to be smart, which part of the R is realistic. So if it's not realistic, we've got to call it. And I mean, that happens a lot of companies too, is they set things, they go, this is a 90-day rock. Can't be done in 90 days. Let's be realistic. This is absolutely impossible. Let's break it down to something we actually can do. Because part of the system is making sure we're really good at predicting and delivering on things. So let's not kid ourselves. For a long, long time, I share this story regularly. I used to set myself 8 rocks a quarter, because I thought, I'm super smart. I'm an EOS implementer. I'm a genius, blah, 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 blah. I can do 8 rocks. And every time I reviewed them at the end of the quarter, I'd done 3. And it took me 2 years to actually finally man up and go, you know what? I can't do 8 rocks. I can do 3. That's actually what I'm capable of doing. Stop kidding yourself. Be realistic. Now I have 3, sometimes 4 rocks. I usually only get 3 anyway. But, and that's part of it, is it's about learning from your mistakes and going, hey, this isn't working. What do we need to do now? But you have to be realistic. We can't expect people to work long, long hours. It's unfair. It's not part of what you're employed to do. You're employed for an accountability, a responsibility, not for the number of hours you put in. And it's designed to give you complete freedom to do that. I always laugh and joke. I had a sales rep in one of my teams I was managing that was always on the golf course at 3 o'clock. And the CEO would keep saying to me, I was the integrator in that role. The CEO, the visionary, would say to me, well, Greg's on the golf course at 3 o'clock. I said, I don't care. He nails his sales targets every single quarter. If he's on the golf course, that's probably helping with his sales target. Brilliant. If he's not nailing his sales targets, and I know they're realistic and I know that they're pushing him, if he's not nailing them, then I'm going to have the conversation. But otherwise, why do I care? Outcomes focus. We want these outcomes. We've agreed on this.
It's all about outcomes versus, like, if you want to spend your Friday afternoon with your family and not at work, go do that, because as long as you've done the stuff you needed to do for this week
that we agreed on.
Cool.
And
I think there's still so many people that are in that mindset that they just don't grasp that concept yet, where it's like, no, we agreed to 5 things for this week. You've done all 5 things. You've gone over and above by doing another 6 things. Doesn't matter. Bye. Enjoy your Friday. Don't want to see you. Don't care.
So if EOS is implemented properly, that's what it's supposed to do, right? We've got our rocks, you've got your scorecard, you've got your measurables. If you achieve those and you're living in our values, why do I care how you did it? Because if you're living by the core values, you're doing it in the right way. If you're delivering what we asked you to do, you're delivering on your accountability. The rest is up to you. You have full accountability. I don't want to know about it, but I am here for you if you have an issue and I can help you solve it. That's what EOS is about.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit about how to avoid potentially some of the pitfalls that we ended up in this organization.
So it's interesting because ordinarily I would say that, the key to all of this is about having open and honest conversations and being able to challenge things and working together as a team. And so often that's hard if you're trying to do it on your own, right? Because if you're trying to do it on your own, it's hard to be working in the business and facilitate those discussions. So my first thing would be like, get an implementer, but you had an implementer. So I don't know why that didn't actually work, but normally that person's role is to actually be able, I call it poking the bear and bringing up the elephants in the room, because I think that's our role as an implementer, is to enter the danger. Hey, hold on a second. I can see you're not really happy there, Gina. What's actually going on for you? And so really encouraging that stuff to come out, because as a facilitator, I do some cool stuff. When I set up the room, because I do it in person, I'll put out name tags and I watch people as they come into the room to see where there's any challenges in that team. And that is before I even start working with them. So I can kind of go, okay, I can see immediately that person's got an issue there, because you can tell by their body language. So a good facilitator is always looking for all of those cues. And then but our role is really very much a facilitator role to have those difficult conversations. So Nicola, I've seen the face you just pulled right now. What's going on for you? Tell me what's going on. And then making it a comfortable space that you can actually get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I would often challenge, the vision of the integrator, then they don't know everything. They're not there to make the final decisions. Ultimately, the integrator is, but we have to have a discussion and we have to get all the views on the table, and we're all trying to make the best decision. So, so getting an outside person, I think is the first thing, is it actually helps you to have those more difficult conversations. I think also using the tools properly. I mean, quite honestly, doing your version of it ain't going to work. And I say it to my clients as well. It's like, come on, guys, we know that it works. I mean, I've done it myself with 26 companies, 170,000 companies around the world use it. And most of them get good results.
170,000 companies.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, hard for us to imagine little old New Zealand, right? But I mean, this is globally. There's 170,000 people companies that actually use, I should say. So it does work, but you have to do EOS pure, and we talk about, and that means actually using the tools in the way that they're intended, not making your own version of them, not using them as a weapon, not use it. It's like they're designed to get the best out of everybody. That's what EOS is about. Are you working in your unique ability, the things you love and you're great at? That's what EOS is designed to do. And if you're not, then we've got an issue. Let's make sure you are. And that might mean finding another role, or it might mean finding another company, either or. So, use the tools as they're intended, use them purely. And I think just have those open and honest conversations. Don't feel afraid. And if somebody starts to use it against you, I would ask as an employee, and I've done this myself, is this the right place for me? Am I happy here? Can I really do what I need to do here? No, then I have to go. And I've quit jobs in the past where I wasn't a right fit, because I thought it's not worth it. Life is too fucking short, to be frank. It's too short to be stuck with some people you don't like, in a job that you don't like, doing stuff that you're not being paid for properly. Because if you're working long hours, you might be being paid a good hourly rate, but you're not really, because you're working long hours. So you've got to be compensated appropriately for what you're doing. So sometimes as an employee, you just ask the question, can I really change this? These guys are stuck in their ways. Do I want to be part of that? Nah, don't want to fight this battle anymore. I'm out of here. So again, it comes down to, do they really want to do it? Because some people aren't prepared to have the difficult conversations. Some people aren't prepared to enter the danger.
I think that's
some people aren't prepared to live by their values. And so
I think that's spot on.
Give you all the tools, but
they would pick and choose, and ultimately the visionary had the final say. It wasn't even the integrator.
So that is funny.
She would be the bearer of the shitty news, because the visionary was not bold or brave enough to do it herself. So that's like, I had a major issue with that. And like, it was just such a, and also I remember once the visionary saying, I don't do things based on principle.
Okay, so red flags all over, right? So that's the thing. As an employee,
I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, my husband hates that about me. And I was like, okay, well, we got to have like some kind of baseline somewhere.
Hold on. I'm now curious. Again, I'm circling all the way back. I'm circling right up to the front end of this, because I know we specifically got you in to chat about EOS, right? And I know that this is a very curious conversation. I know not just for us, but I'm sure all of the listeners are going to be very curious about it. But Debra, when was a time that you joined an organization And there were such blaring, glazing, scary red flags that you were like, whoa.
Well, so I can't say that I've ever, well, no, there was one. I joined I worked for council for 18 months. There was glaring red flags from the beginning, but I ignored them and to my peril, and eventually ended up resigning because it didn't fit with me. I'm not a government organization kind of girl. I realized that. But there was another one where I was actually, I was general manager of quite a large company. And I actually resigned on a principle because we had an issue with a particular employee who wasn't sharing our core values, who was actually doing some illegal shit. And we got all the way down, because in New Zealand, you can't just fire people, as you know, Nicola. We go through the performance reviews, went through all the different steps of performance review, and it got right down to the last, like, this is your final, you are out. And the CEO said to me, we can't do it. And I said to him, what? He said, we can't do it. The board have said we're not going to get rid of this person. And so I said to him, well, on that basis, I can't stay, because you have you're allowing this person to break the rules, and they're setting the example for everybody else in the organization, which means if we do not get rid of this person, it's going to backfire on us. And I never found out why they didn't want to get rid of him, but I knew for me that was a no.
But like, who cares at that point, right?
Yeah.
If you know someone's doing something illegal and they're still going to employ them, like, why do you want to be a part of that cesspool?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I resigned and said, look, on that basis, I can't stay. This is not fit with my core values. And it also means as a general manager, I cannot manage anybody to accountability, because once we let one person do it, why would anybody else?
So it sounds
listen?
like it was like an openly known thing that this person was doing whatever it was that was illegal, right?
Yeah.
So it would have been different if it was just like it was uncovered by like a couple of high ups and they dealt with it. Right. But like, if everyone knew, you're right. How could you manage anyone to accountability? Because they'll be like, Frank over there is embezzling and he's still getting paid, you know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Please,
that's exactly what it was.
Like, I left early 4 times this week. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Well,
So
Frank's embezzling.
So the reason I got involved with EOS is because I'm really passionate about people living their best lives. That is absolutely my fundamental reason for being, is to make sure people lead good lives. And so that comes down to not only the owners of the business, but people in the business. So if your life is too short, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, make a change. Seriously, my brother passed away at 44 years old. He dropped dead in a heartbeat. That could happen to any of us. Why are we doing stuff that does not feed our souls? Go and do something that feeds your soul.
Yeah. And
Is
have
it
some
because I
fucking
need money?
principles.
Sorry, what's that, Nicola?
Because I need money.
Yeah, but you know what? There'll be plenty of other businesses out there that will pay you, and sometimes you get paid a whole lot more when you're doing the stuff that you love with people you love. People recognize that, and they will, continue to promote you. They will continue to pay you well. So there's always every job I've left, and I've actually resigned from a few jobs based on principles, based on not enjoying it. I've never had an issue finding something else. I mean, the thing is, you've got to know yourself, and you've got to be true to yourself. So the better you can get to know yourself and know what's important to you, then you live by that. There'll be other people out there who absolutely are like you and who will want to work with you and who love you. And that's what you want.
I like that. Okay. So Debra, our time is up. So can you tell us where we can find you, where people can listen to you if you have your own podcast, LinkedIn,
Sure.
Give us all the goods.
Cool. Pretty simple. My name is Debra Chantry-Taylor. It is the most unusual name out there. There is no other Debra Chantry-Taylor in the world. So you can Google me and you'll find me. But if you go debra.coach, Debra.coach, you'll find all the stuff that I'm involved in. I do actually have my own podcast where I talk about better business, better life. And that is where you will hear some of the success stories about people who genuinely are doing that. But I also get people to share their shit stuff as well. Like, life is not one big merry-go-round and everything's wonderful and a bed of roses. We all go through stuff. So we share some of the things they go through. And like I said, I'm passionate about helping entrepreneurs lead better lives, establish businesses. If you feel like you're stuck, give us a yell.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, we've loved having you on, and it's been a great chat.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm sorry that your EOS experience wasn't great. I really genuinely am, because it should be.
But I'm sure that we're not the only ones who've had a shitty experience, unfortunately, with the system, because as you said, everyone's human. So we just had a pack of humans who didn't get it, who were trying to deliver it, Yep,
that's absolutely right. And so just, don't judge one experience, I suppose.
No.
There is definitely good experiences out there. And every human is different. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me on and allowing me to give me my side of
Thank
the story.
you. Thanks for letting us
were we
bitch
as
about.
scary as you thought we were going to be?
No. I knew that you had issues with what had gone on, so that's fine. I wanted a chance to sort of help you see that it shouldn't be like that, and there is definitely a better way. So hopefully, I've done a little bit of that.
You
And
did.
you guys were fun to talk to. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, have a good
Great.
rest of your day.
Have an
you
amazing
too.
Friday and have a good
Thank you.
weekend.
Yeah, well, I've got another person waiting to interview now, but I'm looking forward to my weekend. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
All right. we'll
I
speak
hope
to you
this
soon.
email finds you well.
Yeah. Okay. Bollocks.
All right, bye,
Go be
Debra.
your New York native self, please.
It wouldn't even have a hi. It would be like, see my answers below.
Perfect. And the people like me would appreciate that. So go
Okay,
find your
good.
tribe. Yeah, good.
Oh my goodness.
See you later.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you
All
too.
right,
See you guys.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. If you would like to share your story, we would love to hear from you.
Also, leaving a review helps us create more content because it shows us there's an interest in this topic.
For those of our listeners who do better with reading, we have closed caption available on YouTube.
See you next week, same time and same place.